Hello, it's May, and you can probably guess who I'm going to be making today. The Little Mermaid has been one of my favorite films since childhood, so at least once I want to make an Ariel doll. I'll be using this Rainbow High Ruby that I got secondhand as a base. She was mostly complete, and for once I get to strip the doll of more than just her face. This is actually the second Rainbow High doll that I've customized. The first was part of a collab, and the video will be released later this year. I've found that staining is a common issue with these dolls. Almost always it's caused by dark clothing. I'll address that soon, but let's remove the head first. Her hair is perfect, so to keep from damaging it with the heat of my hairdryer, I cover her head with a cloth, in this case one of my cotton gloves. After it's flexible enough, I work the head off of the peg. To remove the eyes, I use a flathead screwdriver and push them out from the inside of the head. Her head is pretty firm, but it's still made of vinyl, so acetone works just fine to remove the factory paint. And I remembered how much solvent dries my hands out, so I put on my nitrile gloves. Ariel's tail is very low cut, and Ruby's painted panties will peek above the edge, so I'll be removing the paint. The torso is a type of plastic that will melt with acetone. I wanted to avoid this and started trying to sand it off first. It was working, but would have taken forever, so I gave in and broke out the acetone anyway. It melts the plastic if you focus on one area for too long. If you keep moving and let each area dry a little bit, you can avoid having too much damage. I also go back in with nail buffers to smooth out the plastic and make it matte again. Please remember to wear a mask whenever sanding dolls. This actually took a really long time, and the dissolved paint kept trying to get into her joints. I had to keep cleaning up her hip joints and her thighs. I won't be removing the underwear on these dolls in the future, at least not if I can avoid it. When I'm done, I wipe away all of the plastic dust. Next, I'm going to work on the stain. I apply acne cream with 10% benzoyl peroxide directly to the plastic. Then I wrap it in cling wrap to keep the cream from drying out. I set the body to the side under a light for a few days. For now, let's work on the tail. I'm using the petite curvy mermaid pattern from requiemart.com. And this color shifting stretch fabric that I had to search everywhere for. For the fins, I'll be using this Angelina Film. I wanted something that was transparent, but that also wouldn't fray. I've never sewn this before, so hopefully it works. Using a rotary blade, I cut one front tail piece on the fold. This used Stella doll will be my mannequin while the original body sits under the light. I also cut two back pieces for the tail. This pattern has options for side fins, but I won't be using them this time. Sewing this was actually quite fiddly, and I don't have the best recording setup to show sewing on my machine yet. So I put the tail together off camera. Another staple of Ariel's design is her shell top. I'll be using the silicone mold to make identical shells out of clay. I started out with this Crayola Air Dry Clay because it's nice and light, plus I have a lot of it. I separate the clay out into 2 equal amounts and push one part into the mold. Then, with it still in the mold, I press the clay into her chest. I take it out and let it dry in place so that it keeps the right shape to be worn later. I created a sheet of eyes in Clip Studio Paint and printed them in 3 different sizes. I'm using a 14mm glass cabochon and am testing out which size eye looks best. The smallest works best because I need to have some of the eye whites showing. I drop a small amount of Elmer's glue all onto the eye design, and then place the glass dome over the glue, pushing it down. Once it's dry enough to be clear, I cut away the excess paper. I do a test fit in the blank head, but I didn't think this blue was quite right. They're too light, and the eyes are looking straight ahead. You can see some gapping, so I'll also be adding more blue tack later. I scrape off the paper and try again with the next larger set of eyes, this time a darker blue with shines already drawn in. The shell bra is done, but this is actually the second set that I've made. This is the first attempt. The shell was made with the Crayola clay and it cracked. I ended up using my usual Polyform Air Dry Clay. Now that I'm satisfied with the shells, I go in with acrylic paint in medium purple. This took about 3 coats before I couldn't see any white patches showing through. After the paint is dry, I give the shells a coat in gloss Mod Podge. I want some sparkle and some shimmer, so let's give it a coat in Pearl X pigment. You can mix these pigments into paint, varnish, resins, and I'm sure even more mediums. I like mixing it with Sculpey gloss. After it's mixed, you can brush it over the surface just like regular paint. I only did 1 coat because I didn't want to completely cover the original paint color. I also left the back plain since it won't be seen when on the doll. I'll be using this thin ribbon to secure the shell top. Apply a bit of Fabri-Tac and press it into the back of the shell. Try not to move this while it's drying or it may strip the paint. This ribbon is so tiny, I had to use tweezers to get the bow tied. I'm going to reattach the head now because I'm worried that I might crack the face later putting it back on. Even when heated up, it takes some brute force to get the head back on. With her secure in her spa wrap, I give the doll a base coat of Mr. Super Clear. I want to stay as true as I can to the source material with this face. Not being able to draw in the eyes always throws me a bit, and I can have trouble envisioning the final face. I feel like I'm always working blind when painting a doll with inset eyes. The eyes are, after all, pivotal to the expression. Ariel's always making faces with her eyebrows raised. Whether she's worried, happy, sad, curious, or confused, they're frequently tilted up. Given the strong smile of the Rainbow High face molds, I had to stay within a happy range of emotions. The scene where she's singing on the giant boulder is one of my favorite parts in the movie. So I chose this as my point of reference for the repaint. So far, I've stuck to my watercolor pencils using only browns, reds, and pinks. I managed to do this entire face up on one layer of MSC. I fully intended to do another, but I found that I was really satisfied with the end result after sealing the face. So all of the colors I'm laying down are either water soluble or erasable. And I end up using water to wipe away my mistakes quite a few times as I worked. My aim is to make her as much like the hand-drawn Ariel from the film as I can. Yet I also want her to look like my own work and be recognizable if someone was familiar with how I usually draw faces. I did my best to try to balance the two for this doll. Up to this point, I hadn't decided on having more than one eyelash since Ariel is often drawn with little wisps in the direction that she's facing. I gave in and drew multiple eyelashes evenly spread out, based solely on that she's not facing any direction in particular and that she's three-dimensional. I made the decision to blush and contour her face for the same reason. I usually try to bring life to my dolls with pink cheeks and by alluding to shadows and depth that may not have been present in the original face sculpt. I use a watercolor pencil and add a few harder highlights to the face. The area around the eyes for these dolls doesn't have all that much detail, so I'm focusing on adding more dimension here. With the face done, I can start working on the eyes. I've already filled the eye wells with blue tack. I thought it would look good to have the eyes in after the 3D lashes were in place. I'm just cutting the false lashes into smaller sections and gluing them to the inside of the top lid with Fabri-Tac glue. Then I give them a trim. While this idea made a lot of sense at the time, it was a mistake. The lashes looked great, but the head was too hard to put the eyes back in. So of course, I thought to heat the head up and make it flexible again. It worked to get the eyes in. Although that was still difficult. And it took some brute force to have them look in the direction that I wanted. I'm not sure if you can see, but as I heated the head, I also melted the eyelashes. They ended up kinda clumpy, like she was wearing thick mascara. In the end, I just went with it. It's been about a week since I put the acne cream on the stain. It faded nicely, but after several more days and reapplications of cream, I figured this was as good as it was gonna get. So I opted to paint over the rest. Since the paint wasn't a perfect match, I thought this was also a good excuse to blush her body and make it match her face better. I didn't bother with her legs, since they'll be hidden under the tail, but I'm quite happy with how her upper body turned out. I covered her head with a cloth and took her back outside to seal the body blushing with Mr. Super Clear. Now there's just one more thing left to do. I got this mini iron as a gift late last year, and I'm still learning how to use it. I was worried I'd melt her hair, so I covered most of it with tissue paper and tried heating the hair through the paper. It kind of worked, but I don't think enough heat got to the hair, so I got a little braver and used the iron carefully directly on the hair. I constantly touch the hair to assess if it's getting too hot and to guide it back into the style that I want. After a bit, her bangs want to fall naturally into a side part. Ariel's bangs are gravity defying, and I don't want to stiffen them up with styling product. So taking a needle and red thread, I sew the bangs into the rest of her hair so that it holds. This will stand the test of time better than hairspray and elastics anyway. My favorite thing about these dolls is their hair. It's so soft and fun to play with. With a few minor adjustments, her hair is done. This video took me longer than I wanted to get out. The doll was completed back in April, and she's already at home with her new owner. Things have been so hectic, and I have a lot of bigger projects happening right now. I'm definitely excited for them, but I'm really glad I managed to finish this video. I love Mermaid, and I love The Little Mermaid. This was just a joy for me to make. Thank you for sticking around. I hope to see you in the next video.